Well, I want to begin with a story about where my interest in this subject began. It began in my first year of marriage, my wife here, Janet, and I asked her if I could have permission to tell this story, and she said, maybe. So anyway, here I am. After dinner one day, I decided I wanted that chocolate cake. You know, that chocolate cake that we had the other night that was really good, and we had some leftover chocolate cake. So I went looking above the refrigerator where there was this plate and there was this cake and cellophane, and the cake wasn't there. So I said, "Hey, Janet, you know what happened to the cake?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, what happened to the cake?" And she said, "I put it down the garbage disposal." And I knew I'd entered an alien environment at that point. And I said, "Why would you do that?" And she said, "Because if I left it on top of the refrigerator, I might eat it." And I said, "Well, isn't that what you do with chocolate cake? Don't you want chocolate cake?" And I realized that I had a lot of work to do to understand this woman that I was going to be married to for a long time, and that I needed to understand something about women and how they think about food. Not that men don't think about food in similar ways, but I did not at all think in those terms. And so this question of why she might do this or think this way about food led me into a variety of areas, including advertising. So let's think a little bit about advertising as we get started here. Of course, advertising exists to sell. But the question is, what is being sold? And, of course, the product's being sold. But my question is, what else is being sold besides the product? There are messages in every ad, messages about the product and why we might want to buy the product, but I want to know, what are the meta messages, the messages that go beyond the surface level? In particular, what does advertising tell us about how we ought to live, about what's important in our lives, about how we ought to present ourselves? I think one of the most important questions that we have to answer is, what is the good life? And advertising supplies an answer to that question. So here's an ad. Yay, it works. Introducing everything you want. Wow! I mean, here it is, the object of human desire. I mean, isn't that exciting? It's so fantastic. With the one thing you need. This is all I need. All my life. The good life. I have found it. It's not God. It's not a strong relationship with my children. It's not a good education. It's a phone. The longing of my heart is a phone. Or suddenly the only thing holding you back is nothing. Oh my gosh, no boundaries. I mean, I can do whatever I want. Nothing's holding me back. From what? From what's important? From the highest good? Well, what is the highest good? Having good reception. Of course. I mean, what is it about phone companies that they think that they can resolve everything significant about my life? Okay, and this will make it harder to see what's here. So I may need, there we go. Somebody may be leaning against, no? Okay. This is exciting. You get a light show also. That's the great thing. So ads have a way of telling us, of course, what to buy, but they also tell us who we are when we buy, and that we are what we buy, that our identity should be defined by what we own. So here's a line from James Twitchell, that advertising helps make buying possible, not because it sells specific goods, but because it sells buying stuff as a way to consume meaning. And this is where I'd like you to begin, thinking this evening that advertising is about giving us a kind of meaning. And we are consuming meaning as we engage in advertising and as we purchase products. So, what do ads tell us about our identity? What is this meaning that we are consuming? Among other things, we are consuming the idea that we are inadequate. Every ad tells us that we need its product. We need more. We need something else. We are not good enough in and of ourselves. We should not be content. So they do this in a lot of ways about a lot of products through a lot of different means. But tonight I want to focus especially on the way in which advertising relates to the identity of women. And are there problems with advertising and men? Yes, there are problems with advertising and men. I mean, some ads say that the highest good for men is to be surrounded by brainless beauty queens. And you ask, how do I know that these are brainless beauty queens? Because they think he is cool. I mean, how bad is that? Some ads tell men that we need to be tough guys and rescue women. Well, at least women with cleavage and dressed in skin-tight bodysuits. That's important. And some ads reduce men to their bodies and skin. But our time tonight is going to be about women. And here's a couple of ideas I'd like you to keep in mind along the way, and I'll try to remind you here and there. First of all, few acts of human communication are more scrutinized than a page of print advertising. I mean, dozens of people have come up with this idea, have sat around a table, and they have decided this is a good idea. So whatever you see, it's not random. It's the result of a lot of planning and thinking about what might be persuasive. Secondly, as we look at particular ads, we might, none of us, have issues with some of these ads individually. I might look at an ad and say, well, yeah, I mean, on its own, I don't really see any problems with this ad. But here's my question that I'd like you to keep in mind. What is the cumulative effect? I'm going to show you over 100 ads. And part of the reason why I'm doing this is for you to see them added one after another. So you can see the cumulative effect and not just thinking about ads individually. Third, when you look at these ads, I'd like you to ask yourself, what if the roles were reversed? Would it seem odd for men to be doing the things that women are doing in these ads? And you might think that there is some reason for the difference. But again, keep that question in mind. What if the roles were reversed? And finally, and most importantly, how are women being defined in these ads? What do these ads say, in particular, about the nature and importance of beauty? My argument is that fashion advertising, not all of it, of course, but much of it, in varying degrees, presents 5 messages. And these messages tend gradually, as you'll see, to diminish women, to reduce women to much less than they could be and might be. So, our first message. The first message of advertising to women, I think, is be fully yourself. Bonnie Bell, I'll decide who I want to be. Be all that you can be. Be fully yourself as long as it involves purchasing products that alter your appearance. And cachet. Be inspired. Be desired. Be you. Oh my gosh, they want me to be me. But what is that me? It's a me that mainly revolves around standards of appealing physically and sexually to men. That's what being fully yourself is about. Or here, in this Nutri-Grain bar ad, respect yourself. I mean, come on, have good self-esteem. How could you have more self-esteem than wearing a dress made out of yogurt tops? So, be fully yourself, as long as that self is preoccupied with beauty. And we don't have to go far to see this. We know this message well. We see it on cover after cover of women's magazines. So the best of beauty, 232 winning products. Gosh, I wonder if they want me to buy stuff. Or Glamour, the 25 best beauty buys under $10. And one of the great straight lines of all time, 29 things he's thinking when you're naked. I am going to resist as hard as it is for me to do so. So the first idea here, under being fully yourself, is the message that beauty is your primary characteristic. This is what makes you, women, who you are. And face after face after face comes along that tells us that beauty needs to look a certain way. And that face needs to be of a certain age and of a certain kind of quality. And that beauty needs to have a certain kind of figure and youth. At the bottom, you can't see this. Beautiful is the name of the cologne or perfume. This is your moment to be beautiful. Well, of course, according to the fashion industry, in particular related to makeup and perfume, it's always your day and your moment to be beautiful. The message is how you look is your life. So it's important that we live beautiful. And of course, we could interpret this in a variety of ways and see it as a metaphor, but I don't think it really works in this way. And am I saying that beauty is irrelevant? No, I think appearance is important, and beauty is relevant, but not at the expense of everything else, and it depends how we define beauty. So, secondly, related to this first characteristic, this first message about being fully yourself, is the message, no aging allowed. We simply can't age. Be ageless. Okay, freeze. Well, you all failed, because now you are 3 seconds older than you were. Don't age. Aging is bad. I mean, my gosh, what if you could grow young? I mean, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be amazing? Of course, eventually you'd have poopy diapers again, but I don't know. What if you could grow young? Correct every sign of age. Every sign of age. Maturity, wisdom, figuring out your identity in Christ. Correct every sign of age. Kill crow's feet. Okay, fine. At least you didn't exaggerate. And I feel really good about the fact that you made me feel bad about something that's going to happen to every single human being on the planet. Okay, fine. Some ads are sadder than others. After a few days on the trail, you'll begin to admire her beauty. This is from Columbia for the boots. So, obviously, this is true because she's just plain ugly. I mean, she's old, and she wears reading glasses. I mean, good grief. What could be more pathetic than that? So the third subpoint here of my first overall message is that you must not only be beautiful, you must be perfectly beautiful. And this message comes to us in a variety of ways. First of all, it comes to us by direct claim. Many ads say that we must be beautiful. What is flawless? Well, I guess now we know. It's something like she is. It's not a flawless poem. or a flawless theory or a flawless tennis backhand, which I would love to have, but I don't. And it's flawless, see, isn't good enough. We need to be flawless beyond any stretch of the imagination. I mean, no pressure. Any stretch of the imagination. And you need to make your skin perfect. I mean, it's not okay if it's good or great. It has to be perfect. And not just perfect, but baby smooth perfection. Because we're back to that entering into the womb thing again. Because we really like that baby skin. So we need to be perfectly beautiful. I'm just going to pause right here. Is it too cold? Are you guys okay back there? You're right. Okay. All right. So that's a very important part of my talk. So you must be perfectly beautiful, first of all, by direct claim, and secondly, in romance. I mean, oh, shucks. I mean, isn't this just the perfect couple? So sensible in their robes in the snow. Or perfect. I mean, you know, just like every couple looks like this, having perfect little bodies and muscle tone and skinniness everywhere and smelling good too. I just hate them. You must be perfectly beautiful in romance and at work. Now, I actually think I was deceived by this next picture, which I don't think is an ad after I studied it closely, but then I already had my PowerPoint together and I couldn't change. So anyway, it's ludicrous. Anyway, so at work, so here this says career climber, carefully cultivated cleavage, sexy librarian lenses. Anyway, it's sick no matter what. I mean, way to empower women to focus on being perfect in their bodies to get ahead. And then this one that says shatter stereotypes by being a stereotype of a slightly older woman who gets into a boardroom because she's sassy and has a hot body. Be perfect at work and be perfect at home. And I'm just going to let you in that this, I think, is my favorite ad in this entire presentation. Okay, so this is a woman in a tutu, and the ad is for toilet tissue. The beauty really is in feeling cleaner than ever. I mean, even wiping your bottom is about beauty. Women, there is nothing you can do that isn't about beauty and being perfectly beautiful. So the second message, first message is be full of yourself in a restricted way. The second idea here, second overall message, is to be your expressive self. And in advertising, women are often pretty darn expressive. I mean, she's having a great time here, jumping around, be happy and carefree. But I think the message really is this. Be your expressive self as long as your expressions are superficial. And what we mean is especially female, because that's what female expression is. It's superficial. I mean, don't express your intelligence or your convictions, your love for others, or your faith. Really, what you need to do is express your physical strength, but only for beauty's strength. Here's Maria Sharapova, who, like many athletes, have their beauty emphasized much more than their athletic prowess. I mean, besides, the thing says, what are you made of? Watch parts, I guess. And that's what really counts. I mean, her identity is somehow caught up in her accessories. It doesn't sound very significant to me. Or this one, which seems like a good ad, and this is one of those that individually you might not have any issue with. Sound mind, sound body. Hey, at least the mind is mentioned there. That's a good thing. But the whole idea to me seems to be that physical strength is about getting fit so that you can, guess what, look beautiful. I mean, it's not about getting fit to be fit. It's about getting fit so that you can look beautiful. So another part of being your expressive self in a kind of female way, according to advertising, is to express your overstated emotions. Hey, more energy for every woman. Woohoo! I mean, this is an exciting moment in her life. Or, in this ad, you can't probably read it, it is for injectable polylactic acid. Anti-age for the modern age. I mean, what else could put a smile on your face more than polylactic acid? Injected, no less. It really gets me excited. Women are also encouraged to be expressive by being silly. And here we have what Irving Goffman, a sociologist, calls clowning, a kind of behavior of getting into silly, clownish sort of poses. And again, things that you really would be surprised to see men doing in ads. Now, we looked this up before I came. And how do you say it, Laura? Cesare. Something like that. Yeah, at any rate, I wanted to say Cesare as if I'm Italian, but I'm not. So anyway, what I want you to note here is the silliness of her position here. She is clowning, but note what he's doing. I mean, he's sitting in a pretty normal way, except he's taken a spike heel to the head. But she's being ridiculous. Another way that you can express your uniquely female self, according to advertising, is to express your stupidity. Sorry, but I think it's here. As in this ad, and a little note there for Banana Republic says multitask. I mean, isn't she amazing? I mean, she can walk with a book on her head, kind of, it's about ready to fall, and she's beautiful. Two things at once. Multitask. She's such an idiot. Or more of an idiot. I don't even know what this is an ad for, but there's all these books, and you can't probably see from the back, but the book that she's reading is upside down because she's a dope. But who cares? She's got great legs. Or in Diesel, be stupid. At least Diesel doesn't mix the message. Stupid is what matters here. Smart may have the brains, but stupid has the balls. So, we've covered two messages. They will get more uncomfortable, to let you know. The third message here, so be fully yourself in a restricted way. Be your expressive self in a uniquely female, sad way. And the third message here is to be your sexual self. So part of what I want you to see in these three messages is who you are, as defined by advertising, is diminishing. Be fully yourself, well, kind of. Be your expressive self, well, sort of. And now it's just be your sexual self. And of course, Victoria's Secret has been telling us this for years, that what matters in life is sexiness and more sexiness. But I think the message is this. Be your sexual self as long as you follow the promiscuous male version of sex. That's the message. And we see it all over the place. I mean, here is an ad from Penny's. And it says, contrary to popular belief, red doesn't have to mean stop. Maybe not a great message for the men who have a hard time stopping. So here we see this message about being your sexual self. And one aspect of this is to present yourself as sexually available. This is the message in many many advertisements. Of course, you present yourself as sexually available for the sake of the product, ultimately. So here's an ad for artistic tile. I love this because everybody enjoys wearing tile. I mean, some of my best looks are in tile. But note what it says: style, selection, and service. The complete ensemble. Well, of course, what service is she providing? Sexual service. And guess, here, present yourself as sexually available as the woman who stands behind her man just with a little less on, at least on one side. Present yourself as sexually available as a stripper. Want to see more? It says, for this pole dancing BMX bike? Or agent provocateur? You know, pretty much just the basic stripper image. Or as a centerfold. Or present yourself as sexually available, this is the most interesting one, I think, as a wholesome seducer. So here you have this ad that has just so many things wrong with it. Motherhood, it's hot. So, okay, so she's pregnant, right? And the guy is there with his girlfriend, and now he's so excited by her, and she's pregnant, that he's checking her out and getting his girlfriend mad. The wholesome seducer. Or this one: is there anything more seductive than purity? I mean, everything's co-opted by sex and beauty, especially promiscuous sex. So present yourself as sexually available. And the second part of this message about being your sexual self in male terms is to subordinate yourselves to men. It's hard to get more obvious than this. Why is she there? For the benefit of mankind. That's why she exists. I suppose that's why underwear exists. I don't know. And so, women should submit. They should subordinate themselves to men. Because, after all, I'm not making this up, those of you in the back row, it says, yes, God is a man. So now we've got deity worked out, and it makes sense that you would subordinate yourselves to men because they are, in fact, God. And how do women do this in advertising? How do they subordinate themselves? They subordinate themselves by doing less than men do. So if you look at ads, pay attention to what men are doing and what women are doing. And you'll often find that women are only doing one thing. Anthony Sinnott researched ads in New York Times Magazine and discovered that 87% of the time that women were pictured in an ad, they were doing one thing: looking beautiful. That's the job of a woman. So here you have firefighters doing something that at least they're in uniform, and the woman is there just looking beautiful. Here are two ads for True Religion, which has its own problems. I'd like to do a whole presentation on religion and advertising. So here the name of a cologne, True Religion. What's he doing? Well, he's doing something. He's on a motorcycle. And here's also True Religion. What is she doing? Nothing. She's on a couch. So subordinate yourself to men by doing less, but also by being anchored to men. And this phrase also comes from Irving Goffman. And he sees ritualized subordination in many ads that show that a woman's security is linked to a man's safe embrace. And he calls this anchored drift. So the idea is she's able to kind of hang out and zone out and look out wherever she is because he is holding her. And in this ad, it's the same idea. Thirdly, under subordinate yourselves to men is the idea of being willing to be gazed at. And there's a lot of literature research about this. I'll just touch on a few ads here. Again, try to reverse roles here. So, yeah, I mean, the man is staring at the woman's chest, and that seems to be okay. Men are permitted to stare at women's bodies, and women are expected to be willing to be gazed at. That's what advertising is teaching us in these ads. This is a sensible ad in so many ways. People so often go down to the wine cellar in their underwear, and hey, at least he's modestly averting his eyes, but the viewer of the ad is not. And the invitation to be gazed at is not just male to female in the ad, it's from the ad to the person viewing the ad. And here's maybe the most bizarre, well, one of the most bizarre ads that I'll present for you. Here it is for Trident White, and it says, a whiter smile gets you noticed even if you don't want to be. Okay, so this is gum. It's not lingerie. It's not perfume. This is gum. And you should chew this gum because chewing gum attracts peeping toms. Woohoo! But the larger point, I think, is this, that women should be expected to be gazed at even when they don't want to be, even through a window of your own home. Fourth, under this category of subordinating yourselves to men, you can do this by laying on the floor, by looking helpless, by looking like a sexual self ready for the taking. Again, reverse roles. I don't know how many ads I've seen with men on the floor. None? Maybe 3? I don't know. Women are really often on the floor, and they don't always look happy about it. But there she is, I think, saying, take me. And this one, which is just too weird not to show, I mean, if you're going to lay on the floor, I have a good idea. Let's pour milk all over ourselves, because that's so much fun. Again, people sat in a room, and they said, I know what, let's do this ad. This is a good idea. Let's have a woman throw milk on herself. And the fifth part of this subordination is by fulfilling male fantasies with your O-face, because, of course, we all know that vodka and orgasms go together, or sadder, give the ring, widen the legs. Or Versace, a threesome in an ad. And just as a bonus, she's got maybe a 13-inch waist and the thigh of a 10-year-old. And our friend Dolce & Gabbana, why not a little mean-spirited sex with 5 of your best friends? So, we have these messages. Be fully yourself. Be your expressive self, both in very limited ways. Be your sexual self. And the fourth message, I think, here is be your body. Be your body. Your best body, which, as we all know, is to sculpt a better butt. A life motto, I mean, here's one that will really sustain you in the hard times. Why should you be your body? Because that's all you are. That's what you are. That's the message of much advertising, not all, of course. That's what you are, a body. Stripped down for skincare. And I want you to note, on her rear end is a stamp, and it looks just like the stamp of the Food and Drug Administration that comes and stamps meat to say that it's grade A or grade number 1 or whatever they say. In this case, it says USDA organic. Be your body, because that's all you are. The subpoint here is that a body is what is most important. I mean, here, all the rage in the last year or two, these shoes that cost $80 that supposedly affect your rear end. So, toned up shoes because you should love your butt. I guess, again, a life message, a life verse for you. Or retones from Reebok. And we have the message Reebok, easy tone, better legs, and a better butt with every step. I mean, again, a great motto, something to put on a bumper sticker and put on your car. And then here we have a little interview with Carrie Underwood. And you can't really read it there, but you have to trust me. It says at the bottom from Carrie, I think my legs are my best asset. Not her voice, not her cheerfulness, not her faith. Your fanny or your face. Wow, you don't have to choose. Isn't that great? I mean, just to know that, yeah, you're just a body, but you get 2 parts, not 1. That is so great. But of course, the message gets more diminished because a woman isn't just her body, she's just her body parts. When we think about this idea of being just body parts, the term that is often used is dismemberment. And what it means is that in ads, often the eyes are not in the picture. And if you take out of a photograph and have anything from the nose down, the person has no personality. They're just a body. They're just a body part. They're no longer a person without the eyes. So here we have this ad, and it says, meet Miss Russia and her friends in Russia. No, you're just going to meet their legs. It's so sad. You're not meeting Miss Russia. All you're getting is legs. Or here in this dismemberment from Christian Dior. All you have to do is take out the eyes and it's just a body. Okay, so again, somebody thought this is a good idea. Let's put bags over the heads of women in bikini tops, and that's a skateboard, I guess. Does Nebraska sell just boards, or do they sell clothing too? Anybody know? Okay, a lot of skaters in here. Good. I can say what I want. Dentine. Gum is really going strong. Dentine Tango, because everyone wants a piece. It's gum. Reduced to body parts. Or for inspired silver, who cares if they're not real? It's about the jewelry, but of course it's not. And the answer is, who cares? We don't care if it's not real. Hey, they're just parts anyway. Susan Bordeaux, philosopher, says this: once we recognize that we never respond only to particular body parts or their configuration, but always to the meanings they carry for us, the old feminist charge of objectification seems inadequate to describe what is going on. Often, features of women's bodies are arranged in representations precisely in order to suggest a particular attitude, dependence, or seductiveness, or vulnerability. So we're not talking about the reduction of women to mere bodies, but to what those bodies express. So here's where we end up. From be fully yourself, your beautiful self, to be your female expressive self, to be your male-pleasing sexual self, to be reduced to your body. And the next message, the final message to me, is inevitable. If you start sliding down this slope, this is the crash at the bottom. Be nothing. Be nothing. Be less than a person, less than human. And many ways that advertising communicates this. Be nothing. Be an object. Be Chinese laundry, to say nothing of the stereotyping in this ad, but to be laundry. Please place your breasts in their full upright position. You are a chair on an airplane. Be a robot, not really human, or a mannequin without a head, or be a doll, be Barbie if you can, or be a bird in a cage, or be a sex trophy, or be the product itself. You're not really human, you're just the perfume, the flower bomb, you're the beer, you are fruit, be delicious. You are a rear end drink. I don't know what it is. But it's not much to be. Be fragile and reduced to life in a little snow globe. So be nothing. Become an object, which inevitably leads, I think, to becoming an object of violence. By being bound. Again, people in a room looked at ads, fought, argued, and decided this was a good idea, or this, or this. If being bound isn't enough, how about being attacked, being manhandled? How about being ready to be attacked? Well, why not death? Why not a poison apple? Why not a fashion shoot where everybody is dead? Isn't that a good idea? Or why not rape? So note, oh wait, I get to use my pointer. Note the shoe on her arm. And I think that this is actually a woman in a red dress, but I think it's intentional. I think it's meant to look like blood. I think this is supposed to look like a rape scene. And this is obviously murder. Become an object. Become an object of violence. Be nothing. Waste away. Urban decay, the decay of your life, the diminishing of your morality, your health is good. Push my buttons. I'm looking for a man who can totally floor me, who won't stop till the top. You must live in sin. Waste away. Be nothing. Be ashamed. Disappear. Cover yourself with a towel. So, with all these messages about being nothing in this diminishing of the representation of women in advertising. I think one of the reactions of women is to decide to waste away, to make the decision to waste away. And of course, this has to do with losing weight. The new theory of evolution for women, because my gosh, on the left, she's just a ton of lard. And then she becomes happy. All 83 pounds of her looking like the product itself. I guess this is supposed to be attractive. And we all know that just because you weigh 100 pounds doesn't mean you look great in a bikini. 100 pounds isn't thin enough. So what you really need to do is to become a stick, just the stem of a martini glass, just one leg wide with no hips. So get to work on your body. There's things to do on your to-do list. Women, you've got a lot of important things to do in life. You've got to lift your droopy eyebrows. You've got to fix fatty love handles, hips and thighs. Get to work. You have things to do, but don't worry. Oh, no, wait, forgot this one. I love this because it's the eye pant. I don't know how many different words we have for girdle, but now it's the eye pant. And you can't read there at the bottom, but it says, it's got all this information, and the heading is the skinny on the eye pant. The skinny on it. Gosh, subtle. But don't worry. Don't fret. You can have a part of your body that's fat. Your hair. Isn't that great? Everything else has to waste away, but your hair can be fat. Your cat cannot be fat. Boy, I could stand to lose a few pounds, thought Maxine. All of us seem to be concerned about our weight. Those are my ads to show you and what I see as a kind of diminishing of women. And it's sobering. It's sobering to me. I have 3 daughters and have lived, for the most part, for the last 27 years in a household of, well, actually 34 and a half years with a woman, and then for a long time with 4 women in the house. And those women have had to contend with the messages of the media, and they have struggled at times with those messages. And you might say, well, aren't there ads and messages that say something else, that give a kind of positive view? And I think there are, but sometimes they're mixed messages. I mean, here it's strong. I mean, heck, I would like biceps like that. I don't think I really could produce that kind of definition. But she's also strong and beautiful. Some have said form a love-love relationship with your figure, or think outside the concept that there has to be a weaker sex, or maybe in relationship to those very similar looking faces and bodies. This is from Dove that says, here's another way of looking that is not flawed, but maybe flawless in its own way. But there are many mixed messages that women receive, even as ads seem to be wrestling with this issue. She knows true beauty comes from the inside, but she doesn't mind finding it in the mirror. I mean, wouldn't it be great if we could just figure out that all of these other issues about beauty really matter on the inside, but then we had a great body also. Or this one from a recent issue of Glamour. 97% of women will be cruel to their bodies today. Well, duh. I wonder how many of those because they looked at this. I mean, the whole message here is, yeah, we at Glamour, we really care about the way you think about your body, and we have this survey, and we really worked it all out, and that's why we put a centerfold on the picture to make you feel good about yourself. Don't you feel better now? Another way to put this is that though 10% of women have some form of identifiable eating disorder, which is a terrible statistic and certainly true at Westmont, my theory is that 90% of women are psychologically anorexic. That is, 90% of women think about food and think about their bodies way more than they need to, than is healthy. Here's one way to get inside this idea. Your local neighborhood fairy godmother comes to you. I mean, you know her, you like her, she's a great little fairy godmother. And she comes to you and she says, okay, tell you what, I'm going to give you a choice, all right? So you can have one of these two things. You can have perfect humility, absolute, total moral virtue in relationship to humility, or you can have a perfect body. I mean a body that is everything you've ever wanted, the face, the figure, the musculature, whatever you want, you've got it in. You never need to maintain it for the rest of your life. Which one do you pick? Well, of course, you go to Christian school and you know what the right answer is. If I had perfect humility, then I wouldn't have to worry about having a perfect body. But that's not my real question. My real question is this: perfect humility or the perfect body? Which do you spend more time desiring? That's this idea of psychological anorexia. So I have some questions here. One is, are 90% of women psychologically anorexic? Second, are fashion magazines for women the equivalent of soft porn to men? I'm not answering the question. I'm just offering it. I'm a professor. That's what I get paid to do. Naomi Wolf, in her book, The Beauty Myth, calls the kind of advertising that I've shown you beauty pornography. She says there's classic pornography, Playboy, etc., but then there's beauty pornography, which is what I've been showing you. And again, it's not that all fashion advertising is bad. That's not my point, and that I don't like fashion or that fashion is immoral. In fact, I think fashion is inevitable because we're human beings made in the image of God, and we are going to assert our style. But we need to think about a number of things, including how large our world is. What does it profit a woman to devote her life to beauty? How large is the world that you desire, that you spend your time inhabiting? There's no doubt that attraction is an important part of life. But attraction does not a marriage make. Beauty is not what is going to sustain your relationship over the long haul. So, here's my question I asked earlier, and we'll say goodbye to that. So, a few questions I'd like you to consider. I'm going to wrap up here in just a minute and open this time up for some questions from you. What are some possibilities for response to this? I'm going to offer a few things. One is to realize that what you are viewing is an orchestrated fantasy. I mean, you know that, but just to show you how absolutely ridiculous it is. When we were living in Eugene, Oregon, there was a column in the sports page one day written by the photographer for the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issues. And he said, you may not know this, but, and this is in the days of film, which is, you may not really understand what that technology is, but not digital photography, actual film. He said, in a Sports Illustrated, the swimsuit part, there are 25 photographs. I take 25,000 photographs. And my goal is to have those 25 that get into the magazine look natural, look like somebody just stumbled onto her. Nothing could be further from the truth. It's 999 thrown out for every one that gets in. It is an orchestrated fantasy to get you to sing the song of consumerism. Secondly, I encourage you to laugh, to criticize, to talk. If we're going to wrestle with these issues, we have to do it together. Os Guinness says that in order to live counterculturally, we need a counter community. And I think a lot of that is sharing our values with each other. Another possibility for response is to abstain. It's hard to reframe what you're doing and constantly indulge in these images. So some of you need to get some distance if you find that you are caught up in this diminishing of women. And finally, I don't know for how many of you this might be true, but some of you, I think, need to repent. That there's idolatry going on here, and you need to respond to God with your heart. So let me close my lecture here with Philippians 1, 9, and 10. And I think you'll see the connections that I'm making from Paul. And this is my prayer, that your love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that you may be able to discern what is best, and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ, to the glory and praise of God. Amen.